so many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. These words, first sung by Jim Henson's Kermit in 1979, resonate especially strongly this morning. We gather here as a community of people who are more than categories, a people who know that we are loved, we are enough, just exactly, wholly and deeply as we are. We have gathered here today as Unitarian Universalists, as seekers, as dreamers, as people who believe in answering the call of love and siding with love. We can be a part of finding the rainbow connection, of traveling over the rainbow to the land where dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. This is a promise that we make as Unitarian Universalists when we decide to become welcoming congregations. We promise to dream big dreams, dreams of acceptance, dreams of diversity and plurality, dreams of freedom and family, community, and connection. Being a welcoming congregation is not just about being nice to any gay people that may wander through your doors. It is about living into the words we say, about facing into the realities of our diversity and our potential to make our dreams of inclusion and transformation a reality. Not everyone sees it that way, of course. I've heard someone speak disparagingly of the congregation I serve right now in California as the church full of rainbows. And I know that's not uncommon. Definitely was not meant as a compliment when this person said it. Across the country, our Unitarian Universalist religious communities that choose to be welcoming congregation find themselves referred to as rainbow churches. Maybe that is usually meant to be dismissive, that rainbow label. But I think it's pretty exciting, actually. Rainbows are awesome. Some months before I entered seminary, the late great Shelley Jackson Denham, my supervisor at the Mountain Retreat and Learning Center, which is our UU retreat center in North Carolina, asked me to write my own I believe statement. I thought about it for a long time, about what I held to be true and what was important to me as a person of faith. And I realized that for me, it was quite simple. I believed in rainbows. Simple as that. I believe in rainbows, not just for their beauty or their observable scientific reality, not in the traditional biblical interpretation of the rainbow as a reminder of God's promise that he would not again destroy everything by flooding the entire earth. I do not support the theology expressed in that new Noah's Ark Museum in Kentucky. And the storm flooding experienced in this coast in the past few years makes it pretty clear that we are not safe from rising waters, right? When I wrote about my belief in rainbows, I meant that I believed in the spaces between. We are not just gay and straight or male and female. We are a vast spectrum of experience, preference, identity, orientation, expression, confusion, and experimentation. We are not just old and young. We are young and old together. Each of us carries wisdom and wonder. We are not a white man's country or a white man's world. We are a land and a world of many colors. We are a rainbow, all of us, a rainbow. And we are singing for our lives. When I say that I believe in rainbows, I mean that I believe in wisdom and wonder, in questioning and certainty, in diversity and plurality. I believe that as Unitarian Universalists, holding our rainbow flag proudly is not just important, it is vital. Across the country, hostility and violence against our transgender and genderqueer and nonconforming kin is on the rise. You can mark this with the passage of those so-called bathroom bills all across the nation, with the ever-lengthening list of trans women of color killed each year. Unitarian Universalists and our allies, those of us who have made the deep, real promise to be welcoming, who embrace the rainbow symbol as our own, we are facing into a maelstrom, a human-made storm of hateful, cruel, short-sighted nonsense. Things are not easy for those of us who don't fit into the 1950s model for gender and sexuality. The nonsense spouted by hateful folk has real-world ramifications. You only have to look at things like the astronomical suicide rates for young people who don't fit to know that this is true, or the rate of homelessness for that same demographic. Somewhere between 25 to 50% of homeless youth identify as LGBTQ. Many of them kicked out by their own families because of their identity. Or the level of bullying that even those youth with supportive families around the country face. Those stories are all too easy to find once you start looking for them. And there's the discrimination faced by our LGBTQ elders and parents and others. Discrimination that looks not just like hate crimes, but like workplace harassment, denial of health care, and mistreatment by authorities and civil officials. There are so many stories and statistics like this, y'all. They're liable to make your heart lower than the base of the deepest Connecticut lake. Reading these stories and statistics hurts. They make me afraid. Afraid for myself, for those I care about, for all of us who are vulnerable and looking stigma in the face. They make me afraid for our communities and our society. This is why it is important that we Unitarian Universalists fly our rainbow flag proudly. Even when it's threatened, even when people start to tear it down, it can be for us a reminder that we are in solidarity with those who find themselves not just in the spotlight, but in the spaces between binary genders, between recognized sexual orientations and preferences, between the cracks of what our society has deemed normal. For me, that rainbow is a symbol of all those who transgress, all of us, any of us who move between, who do not fit in tidy binary boxes, who are not simply one thing or another, who rebel against narrow-minded hate. I invite you to rebel, to continue to rebel, to answer the call, to let your voices be heard. You are needed. These forms of hate and discrimination we've labeled phobias: homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, and so on. These bog all of us down, squeeze flavor and freedom and authenticity from all of our lives. We miss out on the chance to truly hear and see each other. And there are real ways we can overcome this, things that require a little bit of effort but have a huge impact. Things like respecting people's pronouns, whether a person uses he or she or they or ze or something you've never heard of before and have to practice a few times maybe in the bathroom here. In a number of places around the country now, particularly among certain groups of youth and young adults, it has become polite to ask a person what their pronouns is, no matter their apparent gender, just as you would ask for their name. You're not going to assume someone's named Bill, so you're not going to assume necessarily what their pronouns are. It has become protocol to ask everyone what their pronoun is. I experience this, especially when I work with our youth. When these groups go around to check in, they just give names and pronouns as a matter of course. It's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing for everyone. A few years ago, I read the account of a self-identified, middle-aged, cisgendered, straight white man who went to a gathering where he was asked casually in the course of a conversation what his pronouns were. "Oh," he said, "he, his." And the person who had asked him nodded and continued the conversation. The person went home from the party giddy, feeling more seen and respected than he had in years. He knew that he could have said anything in that moment and been accepted, and it made him look at himself again in a new light. It made his gender identity feel less of a box, less of a restriction, because it had become for that moment something that was not assumed. I had a giddy moment like that myself when in college I discovered the word queer as a reclaimed term for the first time. And I know for some people that's a violent term still. So I invite you to stay with me as you hear that word in the room. I remember standing in the stacks of the college library, leaning against the sharp edges of those metal bookshelves and reading about this term that defied definitions and limitations, that united and transformed and encompassed. Finding the queer movement was a lot like learning about what we used to be called Standing on the Side of Love campaign, what's now our Side with Love campaign. Both answer a simple question with profound clarity. What are you doing? We are siding with love, answering the call of love. What are you? I am queer. I am queer. I am myself, one part of this vast, interconnected rainbow of human existence and expression. I am not a label. I am a person, fluid and glorious and individual. No longer an insult. For most of my generation, this word sings in my bones of possibility and promise. It sings of the possibility of erased boundaries, of a world of embodied persons no longer constrained by the little labels of gender and sexuality. It sings of the promise of solidarity, a promise to be with each other in our differences, to stand united, to side with each other again and again. It is no mistake that the other term many of us use, this group of different people determined to stand in solidarity, the word that we use is family, right? Who are family? We are family. Anyone who says they are, anyone who chooses to stand to side with this us. The queer movement declares that this word queer will no longer be a weapon flung against us. Yes, we are queer, all of us, each one of us. We are different. We are unique. We stand up to question the idea of normal. According to seminary professor Dr. Patrick S. Chung, the word queer has 3 meanings. First, it serves as an umbrella term, a simpler way of saying lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, polyamorous, intersex questioning, and anyone else who identifies as non-normal, as well as those who are self-proclaimed allies. Second, it can be used as a verb to mean a transgressive action. So, for example, I queered the play Romeo and Juliet when I directed it in college and produced and directed a version in which both Romeo and Juliet were girls who used she, her pronouns. A couple queered Star Wars when the apparently male person dressed as Princess Leia and the apparently female person dressed as Han Solo. Third, queer erases boundaries. It shines a rainbow light over all, declaring that love is a many-gendered thing. The pride flag is not exclusive. Those of us who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, straight, asexual, pansexual, polyamorous, cisgendered, femme, and butch, and non-gender conforming are part of the spectrum of humanity. The rainbow is a reminder that we are part of the family, that we are all connected in our vast diversity. The flag is an invitation to rebel against labels that don't fit, against boundaries drawn too tightly, against arbitrary rules and harsh assumptions and oppressive hate. We are gay and straight together. Almost all of us are at least a little bit both. Each of us are gay and straight together. We are man or woman or man and woman or neither of those. We are young and old. We are this land of many colors. We are, each and every one of us, complicated, full of glorious complexity, unique and multifaceted. Our challenge as Unitarian Universalists, as a people of faith who believe in love, who believe in inherent worth and dignity for each person, is before us. May we embrace all that we are, all of our in-between spaces. May we proudly represent ourselves as one of those rainbow congregations. May we answer the call of love, live into our dreams, reach for that rainbow connection. And at this time, speaking of rainbows, I invite you to sing another rainbow song. To rise in body or spirit and sing over the rainbow, which is printed in your literature.